Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to everyone. Today we are going to learn about project planning, and as I mentioned to you in the earlier class that project planning consists of 4 parts. So today we are going to look into the first part. So the first part will give some introduction, what is the importance of project planning, the reason why we have project planning, the process of project planning, who is involved in project planning, and what are their responsibility. Okay, planning is an ongoing process, to determine what are the organization objective and goals. And during the planning stage also, the client will establish the strategies that can achieve the project goals. And usually in construction project, the contractor will submit a work program to the client before the project start. Okay, in planning stage, there is 5 basic questions to be answered. The first one is what must be done, how it should be done, who should do it, when it must be done, and how much will it cost. Okay, planning stage involve several parties. The first party is the client. The client interested to know the overall planning of the project. From the very beginning of the project, which is the acquisition of land, right up to the use of the building, the handover of the building, and the use of the facility. And they also should determine when is the cash flow, when is the time that they can pay the contractor, so that they can know the cash flow of the project. And they also will decide what type of contract to be used. For example, in Malaysia, the standard form of contract is Pertubuhan Arkitek Malaysia, PAM, Public Work Department, PWD or JKR, and also the International Federation of Consulting Engineer, which is PIDIC. And in order to choose which type is the suitable type of contract to be used for the project, it would subject to the type of the project, the nature of the project, and also what are the type of financing that the client will use for the project. And for the procurement, there are several procurement that is normally used in Malaysia. For example, the traditional procurement, design and bid procurement, as well as sometimes the management procurement. And they will also involve in the major decision that will affect the overall duration and cost of the project. Okay, the second parties that involved in the project planning is the consultant or the architects. So they are the one who are they are the one who responsible to prepare the plan for the client in order to achieve the decision or the goals and the objectives of the project. And in doing that, they need to know the numbers of designer that they will allocate in the project, how many designers that they need to appoint, depending on how big and small of the project. In other words, they need to manage the resources. And they also responsible for the investigation, feasibility studies, the design calculation, the drawings, statutory planning approval by the local authorities, preparation of the specification, the tender program, and also preparing of quality system. Okay, the third party involved is the contractor. The contractor will involve in 2 different stages. The first stages is during the estimating stages. when they when they involve in the tender, the pre-tender. So this is where the contractor will estimate what are the bid price of the project, and then if they have been selected of the project, they will plan again, this time in detail, before the project commence. So the contractor usually estimate planning involves preparation of works program and proposal of construction methods. They will propose what are the suitable construction method to be used in that project, and this will be included in the work program that they will submit to the client. And contractor also need to plan what are the resources, who are the resources, and this plan must be able to cater the changes, for example, variation orders, if there is mistakes during the construction, and also weather. Okay, construction planning includes three main things. The first one, how each work task is to be performed. So tasks or activities. So this involve the selection of construction methods, and also the management procedures. The second thing is the order of which things are to be done, meaning which needs to be done first, which needs to be done second and third, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So these are the sequence. For example, when is the foundation activity need to be conducted, and then when is the slab, the ground beam, the column, the first floor beam, and so on. Yeah, so these are the sequence. So they need to understand, in order to do this, they need to understand the technological process that involved in the construction methods. So those with experience and those with qualification will be able to identify the sequence of the process. And the third one is the decision as to when things need to be done. Okay, so for each activities, they need to know when is the start date and when is the finish date for each of the activities. Okay, planning process consists of 4 stages or 4 levels. The first one is the project planning. Project planning is being involve client and project manager and also consultant, because they are the one who are going to help the client to achieve the project goals and objectives. So and after that, there is a pre-tender planning. Pre-tender planning is where the tender is open to the interested bidder. Okay, so if the interested tenderer the interested tenderer wants to tender in the contract, they will involve in the pre-tender planning, and when they've been selected for that project, they will become a main contractor and they will involve in the pre-contract planning. And when right before the project starts, the main contractor as well as the subcontractor will work hand in hand to make a detailed work program to establish or to prepare the work program and to submit to the client. Okay, project planning starts with the client, team, and organization. The client usually prepare the master plan. And the master plan consists of phases of the project and also the estimation of the cost of each activities, and also the date, time for the activities. So all these are the key activities for design, for the pre-tender, for the handover, and also for other activities. So this is a rough plan. All right. Okay, what are the reasons for project planning? The main important thing, the main important reason is to make the project master schedule realistic. So realistic means that it can complete within the duration, and when is the appointment of the consultant, and when is the appointment of contractor, and when is the project completes and can be occupied. And also the reasons for project planning is to identify the critical path. When you know the critical path, you know the critical activities, and when you know the critical activities, like it has no float, therefore it cannot delay. So if it's planned to complete in 7 days, it has to be completed in 7 days, or else the whole project will suffer with delay. And the reason for planning also is to facilitate the design and tendering process, and also to identify what are the potential risks that can affect the project and that could delay the project. And the project planning, the reason for project planning is to monitor, is to use as monitoring purpose. This is being conducted during the construction stage, where the planning stage, the plan progress is being compared against the actual progress. So if there is any delay, or is there any problem, this is where the project manager needs to take the corrective action in order to make sure that the project is complete on time. Okay, let's look at the first stage, which is the pre-tender planning. Okay, pre-tender planning is defined as contractors planning consideration during preparation of the estimation. Okay, before the project is appointed to the main contractor, the tenderer that interested in the project will bid for the project. They will estimate the project price. And the pre-tender planning is to assist the tenderer to put in the realistic price. Okay, and during the pre-tendering planning, usually the client will invite the tenderer to go for a site visit. So this is where it is very important that the contractor or the tenderer go and see the site, assess the site, and also they will decide the current rate of the material, and from there they will come up with the work or method statement. And from the method statement, they will decide when is the planning of each activities, and for each task they will come up with the financial, what are the costs of the activities. The cost means the cost of labors, the cost of materials, the cost of machineries and plant. Okay, the reasons of pre-tender planning, again, it is about establish a realistic contract period, and to identify what are the suitable construction method to be used for the project, and to assess what are the method statement that they selected, what will this affect the bidding price. And this is also will help the tenderer to establish the contract preliminaries and also the plan expenditure. Okay, the next one is pre-contract planning. The pre-contract planning is the period between contract award and commencement of the work on site. So this is just about to start with the project. So this is where from the master program that I showed you earlier. So this is where the contractor and also the client will plan in detail what are the what are the construction activities that need to be carried out. And this master program or this construction master program, they will be used by the client representative to monitor the contractor progress during the construction. So it is very important that the client get the master program, the detailed master program from the contractor prior the commencement of the project. And also the target program, which is compressed version of contract master program. So this is where the contractors program, which gives more detail in the from the master program. Okay, the reason for pre-contract planning is to provide outline plan of strategy for project to comply with the contract condition, establish construction sequence, to identify key project dates, highlight key information, enable assessment of contract budgets, and to schedule key dates with respect to key material and subcontractor requirement. Okay, these are the elements to look into during this phase, where from the master program they will come up with a detailed work program, and this is the time where they will suggest the use of CPM, precedence diagram, PERT, and so on. And during this time also they will prepare the insurance for the labor, insurance for the machineries, insurance for the project, and foreman is being appointed, call in tender for any specialized job, prepare materials and supplier. This is where the supplier will also being identified, hiring of staff that based on site, and identify who is the local authority, the name, the address, the contact person, and prepare the working capital, prepare the equipments and plants, and also if there is any temporary structure need to be designed or need to be allocated at the site. So this is the time. Contract planning occurs from the site possession until the completion of the project, and this is where the master program is being further developed, and it is being developed more detailed. Detail means it is more detailed to weekly or fortnightly, and it's been done by the main contractor. And this is to ensure that the project completes on time within cost limit that is being established during the tender stage. And during this stage also, the subcontractor which has been appointed needs to contribute, needs to plan together with the main contractor of the work program. And if there is any changes in terms of delay, and it needs to be recorded in the revised program. So this is being called as built program. So if there is any changes to the master program, the detailed master program, it has to be recorded, it has to be amended in the master program, and this is being called as built program. Okay, in contract planning, these are the elements that to look into. Start the activity as planned, monitor the progress for each week in terms of cost usage, time and quantity, compared the current progress to the planned progress, prepare the daily, weekly, monthly progress report, control the usage of resources, control the quality according to specification, coordination and discussion between parties involved, and in terms of contract administration, if there is any variation order or any delay, it needs to be recorded, and all works need to be conducted safely. Corrective action need to be taken if there is any problematic activities, progress claim being done, payment to supplier or subcontractor, and when the project completes, the activities for project closure. There are reasons for contract planning, but the most important reason is to monitor the master program, whether it's in monthly basis, weekly or daily basis. This is to plan the site operation in detail in a short duration. During this contract planning also, the reason is for the project manager to optimize the number of resources. Resources means the number of labors, the number of machineries, and also the material quantity that is being used during that duration. And if there is any variances occurs, or if there is any problem occurs during the project, the construction of the project, then the project manager needs to review and to report the variances. Okay, let's look at the steps in planning a project. The first step is to getting a feel for the project. So before the project starts, the client and also the organization, the project team needs to get to know what is the project in terms of the information of the project, the background of the project, and then the objective and goals of the project. And then only they will establish the key project dates. When is the project going to be, when is the design will be commenced, when is the tender is going to be open to the tenderer, when is the construction, the project kicks off, and also when is the completion and handover of the project. Assessing how long the project will take for each of the activities, establishing their sequences, for example, what starts first and what comes second, and deciding which program techniques that will be used during the construction of the project. If planning is properly in place, it will give benefit to the project. So these are among the benefits of planning. The first one is planning be able to establish coordinated efforts. It will give direction to all the team members, whether they are on site or whether they are at the head office, on how they can contribute to the objective or goals of the project. And proper planning will also reduce any overlapping of activities, and this will lead to the reducing in wasteful activities as well. Okay, the third one is the planning. By having planning, it can reduce the risks and uncertainties of the project to the minimum. And also by having a proper planning, it will derive any procedure or any system to work effectively. It also establish adequate standard. For example, what standards needs to be used during the project when the project is kicks off. For example, what are the quality standards to be used for concrete? What are the standard to be used for construction methods? Yeah, and it also provides a structural basis for carrying out the work. During the construction of the project, if there is any idling of machineries and also there is non-productive time, it can alert the project manager, and therefore the excess of the labor or any idle of the machineries can be eliminated. And it also gives the information about the shortage of the labor or shortage of the material, and thus the project manager can make a corrective action to the problem. And besides than that, the management will also able to relate what has been done and what should have been done, and examine the reasons for correcting any shortfall. It also provides utilization of labor, plant, machineries, resulting in faster program of operation at reduced cost. Okay, this is what happened when the project consciousness is not there, meaning if project team members have different perspective on the project. So if you look at this picture, this is what the client wants: a tree with the tire string made of tire. And this is what the management requests: is a three-tier board swing, and this is what specified in the project request or project construction method, and this is been designed by the consultant. These are the consultant perspective, where maybe they think that it is much safer if the board or the swing being laid down to the surface of the ground. And these are the programmer, probably the contractor. When planning of resources, it should be planned that no one should be kept idle at any time, because when there is an idle of manpower, it means that it's a waste of money to the employer. And during the planning of resources also, the project manager needs to plan that the supervision of the work is according to the requirement of the quality needed. It means that the supervision needs to follow the specification as well as the standard specified in the contract. For planning of site layout, there are few things need to be bear in mind. Okay, the first one is to make sure that the site is not congested or even give health hazard to the workers as well as the third parties who comes into the site. So the site layout needs to be properly planned and designed. The site layouts means the temporary building, the material storage areas, temporary roads, the hard standing and access, and also sun-dry points. The reasons for planning of site layouts is very much important because it gives the accessible to the site at any time so that the construction can run smoothly. So let's move on to scheduling. Scheduling means an operating timetable which serves as the basis for monitoring and control of the project. Usually we use work breakdown structure or WBS. So WBS is an approach of all scheduling technique that form network activity to include the relationship from one activity to another, and also to give the sequence relationship between the tasks in the project. Okay, these are the examples of WBS. If you can see that, if you look at this, for example, if these are a project, then you can see the first level of work breakdown structure. and the first task can be breaking down into a few two tasks or even more, and from one task the sub task can be break it down into a few level of activities. Okay, the benefits of successful scheduling. Okay, illustrate interdependence of all tasks. So it will show you what is the task depends on or will not depend to another task. Identify time when resources must be available. So this will show that how many labors is available during that duration or at that for that activities, and it also facilitate communication throughout the project. It determines, the most importantly is it determines the critical activity or critical path. Okay, what do we usually do during scheduling? During scheduling, the project manager usually develop a detailed work breakdown structure, and when the structure the work has been break down into a level of tasks, each of the tasks need to be estimated the time required to finish the task, and the sequence of tasks is also important in order to sequence it in a proper order. It also develops the start stop time for each task, this is also included the detailed budget for each task, and also assign people or assign workers to each of the tasks. In control process, usually the project manager will monitor the actual time, the cost, and also the performance throughout the project. And it also compare the plan progress against the actual progress. And if there is any delay or any problem that leads to delay, the project manager can take the corrective action to make sure that the project backs on track. And during control process, the project manager also needs to evaluate what are the best or what are the best on the alternative correction action need to be taken if there is any problem arises. There are 7 steps for planning and scheduling process. The first steps are to establish what are the project activities. So the project activity should be specific and also can be measured. The second step is to identify what are the project activities. Like I mentioned earlier in the previous slide, the work breakdown structures be able to break down the project to a smaller task. The third steps of planning process is to determine the activity sequence. Sequence means what are the order of activities, what are the precede and what are the succeeds, what comes first, what comes second, and the next activities. And the fourth process is to determine what are the duration for each of the activities. And the fifth process is to perform schedule calculation. So this is, you need to add up duration of the activities, and this is where you can identify where or what critical path and duration of the project. And if you find that the project or the duration is illogical, then you can revise and adjust so that the resources is suitable and acceptable to complete the completion of the project. And the last process is monitor and control to make sure that the baseline can be achieved. Baseline means the project plan, the plan on the cost and the time, so that it can be achieved. And if there is changes in the project, it can be taken care of. And if there is also unforeseen condition, it also can be remedied during the construction of the project. Nobody plans to fail, but everybody fails to plan. So it is very important that you allocate amount of time to plan, so that in construction the work or the project can run smoothly.